Okay, 1 second. Okay, this is Don Wedding. We're in Predict 498. This is our official show and tell of the quarter, and this is fall of 2017, and today is October the 19th, the year 2017, and apparently the Chicago Cubs are playing, and nobody is showing up. Apparently, people like the Chicago Cubs more than a generalized linear model sync session. Go figure. So, anyways, our first person who's going to present tonight is going to be Becky Hames. Is that right?
Yes, that's awesome. That's perfect.
Ah, there it is. Becky Hames, but it's spelled James, but it's Hames. Okay, Becky, you can share your screen, and as soon as you start, I'm gonna hit go, and I'll warn you at 7 minutes in case you want to try for the double secret probation bingo bonus.
All right. So, can you see my screen now?
And not see your screen.
I click on the share screen button right there, but nothing happens.
But you should.
Hey Don, do you have to stop sharing your screen?
Oh.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, that was a test. You passed it. Okay. Okay. Becky, try it again.
Okay, hang on.
And everybody else, put yourself on mute so I don't have to, hear your echoes.
All right, can you see my screen now?
I can see your screen.
All right, cool.
Okay. So let me know when you're ready to get started.
Let me put this in presenter mode. Hang on 1 second.
And I'm cutting you off hell or high water at 10 minutes, but you get 2 points for making it to 8.
Oh my gosh, hang on. I don't know how to do presentation here. What's going on? My button is missing. There's generally a button.
Just click your mouse on the thing. Just click your mouse over the slide.
It's right here. Okay, it was behind everything. Okay, cool. So, ready.
Go.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Becky Hames. I am part of the Capstone group, and I'm really excited that we only get 8 minutes to present because I chose a controversial topic. And with 8 minutes, we actually don't have time to get in a heated conversation. But my contact information is at the end if anyone wants to have a heated conversation afterwards. So the topic I chose is when to use Mongo database. Controversial, right? So the answer to this question is you should never use Mongo database. And the presentation should actually end here, but because I don't want to get in a heated conversation, I'm going to actually tell you a little bit more about what Mongo is and what is all about, like document databases. So Mongo is a document-oriented database, and this type of databases do not have the concept of tables or predefined columns like a lot of us as analysts are used to, like when we do SQL and things like that. Document databases do not have these. Document databases actually store the data as a collection of records, and they don't have schemas or relations to other records or anything like that. Mongo in particular saves the data as a collection instead of tables, and each row is a JSON object, and it has no columns. So to give you an example of how it looks like to query a Mongo document database, you have it in the left-hand side. And here I kind of like formatted the JSON object to look kind of pretty so that you can see what the data is getting at. But as you can see, there's no tables. It's just one big object, and then good luck with whatever you want. If you look online and you check for like when should I use a Mongo database, you'll find why I'm saying that this is a little bit controversial, because there's a ton of haters of Mongo and there's a few lovers of Mongo. And Mongo, and the thing is that if you read these articles, if you read these blogs, you find out that a lot of these Mongo haters actually hate Mongo for the wrong reasons. A lot of these people are actually using a document database when they're dealing with relational data. And for example, in this, what I'm showing you in the screen is kind of like relational, right? Because I can put everything in a nice column, and here we suppose that we have more tables that are related to the data and whatnot. And some people, like if there's any developers in the audience, actually might agree that designing schemas for databases is actually one of the hardest parts of coding. And somebody needs to mute their phone. Sorry. And so it's a little bit forgivable to use document storage when dealing with relational databases, but with relational data, but it's still a poor architectural choice. So, and then you'll find other articles telling you that MongoDB is a poorly engineered storage option run on marketing and not in technical merit. And these articles actually highlight the security and support issues that have had Mongo since the inception. And those are the actual legit reasons to stay away from Mongo. But then you might ask a question, okay, so when should I use a document-oriented database? And the thing is that because most data out there is relational, use cases of databases that are designed to store and work with documents tend to be really specific. So for example, a search engine that is constantly executing queries, like if you type something into a search engine, like for example, done wedding consulting, you expect results that don't match specifically the string that you put in, and instead, like you want things that are kind of like similar to it. So if some of the students have taken one of the earlier classes or like the text analytics class, you might know a little bit about indexing. But if you were supposed to do this search in a database that needs to do a bunch of joins, it's going to take a long time for these results to come out. So instead, for faster search, you can query a document data store that stores a denormalized version of the data that then can be used to create normalized search indexes. And if you have taken one of the text analytics classes that I actually recommend, it was actually pretty fun, you learn what the indexing process is. And it's something along like this, and I'm oversimplifying here just for the sake of time. So it's when you take the terms and you take the variants of a term and you map them to a single standardized form. So for example, done to Donald and wedding is the same thing, consulting to consult. And it's likely that Google maps consultant to planner, and that's probably the reason that you get this last one of like of the wedding planner. But because of this indexing process that it comes with like, if I'm looking for done wedding consulting, I might get something like the resistance against Donald Trump in California, for example, just because of the indexing process. But full text search engine queries could get very complex. So we're going to skip all that part as well. And then we're going to just ask a question, okay, so which are the best document stores? If you hate Mongo, what do you suggest? And again, the answer is it depends, because cases where document storage is the right solution are almost always really specific. Like, for example, in this particular search example. Also, I might add here that it just happens that a Postgres, you can store documents, you can store data document-like in a Postgres database as in a column full of JSONs. And then with Postgres, you can use a lot of like the JSONB functions to query the data. It's not something that is commonly used, but it could be useful. For example, right now for what my project we're scraping data from a bunch of websites. And a lot of the times you cannot expect like how the data is going to come really nice and neatly. Some fields might be missing and so and so. So you can use document storage, for example, when you're storing results of a web scraper or something like that. But only store arbitrarily nested data after making sure that you cannot implement a schema. That's something to always keep in mind. A better question would be something like, if I want to build instead of like asking which are the best document stores, like a better question would be something like, if I want to build a search engine, what would be the best solutions? And in that case, I would probably recommend something like Elasticsearch or something like that. But always
1 minute, Becky.
Okay.
You got 7 minutes, but you got 1 minute to go to make the bonus.
All right. So if you're asking a question, what database should I use? The answer always should be use a relational database like Postgres, unless you have a specific reason not to. And since my time is up, that's it. This is my contact information. If you want to know, I actually, in preparation of this, I wrote a blog in my blog about it. So if you want to get in touch, this is my email address. And bam, 8 minutes.
Dang,
I got actually lucky.
Nice stuff. Hey, two things before we go is everybody, if you have any slides or material, if you can email it to me, then that would be great because I'll post it both on the 411 section and I'll also. It'd be great if you posted it already, yourself, but give it to me and I'll post it as well. Second thing is that if anybody uses information from tonight's talks or anything else, put it in your final report. Even you 411 students, if you say, hey, I used Mongo database because of Becky's talk over in 498, I will give you bonus points for trying a new technology, and I will give Becky points and her team points for sharing information and being good corporate citizens. So remember, if I don't see it, you can't get the point. So make it a great, real obvious thing. Third point is, Becky, this was a great talk. And when you guys are doing your oral reports, this is the kind of level of detail that you're going to want. If you crawl into the weeds, the CEO is going to start surfing the web while you're talking, and he's not watching. You got to keep it. You got a little controversy in here. You got a lot of stuff. You kept it entertaining and at a high level that I could understand. This is what you guys are aiming for, okay? So just wanted to give you that. Okay, so anyways, who is next now? Becky, great talk. Thank you for doing that.
Yay.
I'll go next. This is John.
John? Okay, John, what's your last name?
Jamara.
Oh, man.
G-I-U. Yeah, Giumara.
Okay, is that, how do you, what team are you on, John?
I'm the biker gang.
Biker gang, okay, biker gang. Okay. And you don't pronounce your name Hamara, do you?
No, not yet. I might switch
Not
to that
yet.
though because I kind of like it.
Yeah, Jamara's pretty good too. Okay, I'll warn you at the 7-minute mark, and then I'll warn you at the 9-minute mark. You going to go try for the 2 bonus points?
I'm going for it. I'm going to get them.
Okay, here you go. Ready, get set, go.
Great. Well, good evening. My name is John Jamara. How are you? And we're halfway to being almost done. So it's very exciting. So first things first, if you could pull up either on your phone or in a separate browser, I'm going to show you or demonstrate a live polling service. So if you want to pull those up and go to this website, MENTI.com, MENTI.com, and there's a code here that you can put in. So
MENTI.com?
Yep, MENTI.com, MENTI.com. And as the code, if you can't read this, you should see it on the screen, is 857402. And we'll get to that in a second. But really, I've been presenting a lot, especially lately. I do it as a regular part of my job, as we probably a lot of us do, but a lot to our senior leadership. And more and more, the advice I get before going in, because you're always checking with people, hey, is this, it's the right message, is not even about the message. The advice is not about the message. It's try to entertain them and even make them laugh, which is kind of odd feedback to get, but I'm getting that more and more. And then I put myself into their shoes, and the life of a C-suite exec is meetings or reading. So they're going from meeting to meeting. They don't actually really do anything, right? And this is, I've gotten this feedback before. They're making decisions. They're taking meetings, making decisions, and moving on. Especially at my organization, which is a quasi-government organization, if one exists, there is a PowerPoint template. So not only are there a lot of PowerPoints, but they all look exactly the same blue, and you will get scolded if you don't use that template in larger meetings. So I can understand the advice to try and entertain this disparate group of people. Just kidding, of course. So what I've used in the past, and I've used this particular service recently to spice up the meetings, is a live polling. And it really works well in larger groups. If you have an audience sitting in chairs looking at you, you pull out your phone, gets people engaged. Don, as you said before, for our 498 presentations, the biggest hurdles are Facebook and YouTube. Those are our challenges that we're competing with when we present. So this is a way to get everyone involved, and it can be fun. On that note, I put together a kind of a make-believe presentation here, or make-believe polling survey, but why don't we start? If we can go to your phones, we want to make your next presentation feel like a carnival. So how do we do that? All right, so if you could vote on your phones, and then we'll see these live results populate here as they come in. And wow, a lot of chocolate. That's disappointing. But
I like chocolate.
I like chocolate too, but I'm a vanilla guy. But anyways, it's amazing how well or how much people will perk up and pay attention when they know that they're involved. So this is really about getting the audience involved. And I used it recently. We're in the midst of trying to integrate agile projects, new product development projects, management, and that kind of thing. And in the meantime, I'll move on to the next question.
Can I ask
what's
a
the
question?
Best type of ride? Yeah, please do.
How did you get this thing into your PowerPoints so quickly? Because I already want to use this. How did you do that?
It's not in PowerPoint. It's web-based, and it's its own presentation engine. It is really, really, really easy. I'll show you the engine when we're done, but it's extremely easy. It'll take you like 10 minutes to figure out. It's very intuitive. But I have used one that actually does integrate directly with PowerPoint, but it doesn't work as well. It's really got a tall learning curve, which is why this one I think is excellent. So we got a tie with roller coasters and bumper cars. I'd say that's about right. And then you can do different types of questions. And this is the free version. You can pay for a version which gives you a few more options, one of them being it makes the users unable to download the information. So I guess they thought that you would want to pay. You'd want to pay so that people couldn't download the results at the end for some reason. I guess that's a freemium type hurdle. But clowns freak me out. So this is the type of thing you can do. Here's a rating type question. And as you can see, it's very live, it's very active. And there we go. So clowns free. Everything's kind of down the middle, but yeah, clowns freak me out. I guess people agree with that a little more than everything else. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is so you refresh your browser, get to the next thing. This is a quiz. So this has a timer on it. So I'm going to hit start the countdown. Get ready. I'll read the question. It'll pop up. Where is the world's largest carousel located? You get more points for answering quicker too. Everyone has voted. All right. The correct answer is Wisconsin. Very good. All right, so we'll go to the next one. I think I have one more here. Same idea. Let's see. Start the countdown. Last question. When you are done with 498 capstone course, you will Of course, there's only one right answer here. Okay, well, the right answer was run through the streets screaming victory. So now I can show the winner. Overall results. Well, it looks like
Tell you, you're
Anthony,
at 7 minutes 30 seconds. 7:30.
Perfect. Anthony and David. All right. So I mean, I'm pretty much done. I'll show you the let's see, quickly. I'll show you the engine. It's just like PowerPoint. You can clear the results here, delete results on that question. You can add an answer, and it's just as easy as that. And I'm done.
Oh man, great job! Incidentally, I love this. And again, 498 students and future 498 students, my 411 guys, watch this. Keep your presentations entertaining. I love this, and I'm going to be using this, John.
Glad you liked it.
I do. I hope you use this when you do your presentation for 498, and I hope the other people do it as well. Use this thing. Okay.
We will now.
You will now, huh? Okay. I need, let's see here. I need another volunteer. I'm getting nothing here. Megan, can I volunteer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go third. Okay, I'm gonna try real quick to share my PowerPoint. If not, you will have to pull it up.
I can.
No, it looks like.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I did earlier. Do you want me to re-email it?
Let me see. Let me just quickly hop on. Just a minute.
Okay. Because I am on my phone and.
No. I'm fine, Megan.
Okay.
Your group 4 credit, extra credit. Is that it? PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a second here. And let me just pull this thing up. So do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, I tried to do it from my phone, but I don't have it in the right documents folder, and I'm going to have to fiddle it with it, so go for it.
Not a problem at all. Just a minute. Let me share my screen. And share your screen. Ready, get set, go. I'm sharing my screen almost. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, can you guys wait? Can everybody see my screen?
I can.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I'm going to hit start. And are you going to try, Rebecca? Are you going to try for the bonus points? Or I'm sorry, Megan. Are you going to try for bonus points?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
I will.
Okay.
And my topic is not quite as entertaining, so I'm going to blaze through it.
Okay.
So,
okay, ready? Get set?
Yes.
Go.
Okay, awesome. So what we're looking at tonight is the culmination of a Kaggle competition project, independent project, and this was a presentation for 422, so we're just recycling some material. Can you get me the next slide?
There it is.
Awesome. Okay, so the first slide here, the background is on the Mercedes-Benz Kaggle competition. Mercedes-Benz put up this competition, and what they were looking for is to optimize their time on the testing bench for something to pass some sort of inspection. I was assuming it was some sort of emissions inspection, however, not quite sure. Everything was anonymized, so nobody really had information about what they were looking at. So can you give me the next slide? So this, awesome. So the initial EDA was done in Enterprise Miner, and so that anonymized data consisted of 385 predictors. I think we had maybe about 2,000 individual observations. So there was quite a large number of predictors. Looking at the distributions of the response variable, right away I went with the inverse transformation of the response variable and binning of the categorical variables or factor variables. There were 10 factor variables. There were 375 binary variables. And next slide.
Uh-oh, just a minute.
Oh.
There it is. Okay, I got it. Okay, there it is.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. And so the data prep in Enterprise Miner just went through the data partition, those transformations mentioned in the previous slide, the inverse transformation of the response variable, the binning of the categorical variables. And next slide, please. So this is just a screenshot of the Enterprise Miner model construction and comparison. And Don, being the expert, is probably going to laugh, but really I wasn't focused as much on finding the right model. I wanted to kick the tires on Enterprise Miner. So I put everything in there just to see kind of what it did and see if I could get, more information, ease of use, scope, just basic construction. And what I found out is I underutilized the ensemble methods and misused the ensemble methods. And there's some really great resources for that that I highly recommend. So that is basically the model construction and comparison in a nutshell. And next slide, please. Okay, so the highest scoring model was a decision tree followed by a general linear model. And I think at this point I picked the general linear model because there was some things in there I wanted to set up. I can't really remember why I didn't just go for a straight linear model after the inverse transformation. So Don may critique my modeling skills, but that was the highest scoring model. And next slide. So the decision tree, these are some specifics about the decision tree. Also looking at the decision tree in R code to make a comparison. Next slide, please. These are some of the plots of the decision tree in R. We see there's a little bit of a difference in variable selection. And next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of the model construction and comparison, looking specifically at that some of the interactions of that general linear model. So we can see here two-way interactions were used in the model and the fit statistics of the final model. And next slide, please. So this is just a snapshot of the model comparisons function within Enterprise Miner to do a side-by-side comparison of all the model outputs, which was used to find that highest performing model. And next slide, please. So the submission results, you can see here, this was the Kaggle competition submission results. If you look here, it was not well performing, but I also tried the SOM functionality, the self-organizing mapping. I've been intrigued by that lately. I've tried a little bit in R and a little bit in SAS. Haven't really been able to make a whole lot of it, but these are just a look at the scores of the on the public and private data sets for those models. And next slide, please.
Okay, you're at 7 minutes.
Okay, I'm probably not going to finish under 8, but I will try to go fast. So this is the leaderboard. The highest scoring model finished 1,531 out of about 3,000 in something teams, so it was in the top half. And next slide, please. So the conclusions were to try more three-way interactions. The winning model had three-way interactions. In all of the top models 1, 2, and 3, there were different significant variables in the final models, and so there was high variability in the performance was equal with different variable selection, and that for me was a significant point that I want to point out for future modeling and for myself. And next slide, please. This is just a reiteration of the difference in the significant variables in the highest performing models. And next slide, please. So the winning model on Kaggle also included the ID, the item ID of the observation, which I generally don't include, but that's something that I noted that I started off the bat without investigating. They also recoded.
1 minute to go.
Awesome. Okay, this is, I believe, the last slide. These are just some specifics on the variables. They also used XGBoost, which is some functionality I'm sure SAS is going to integrate at some time if they haven't already. And that is the end of my presentation.
Very good. Hey, what team are you on, Megan? I forgot to ask.
Biker Gang.
You're Biker Gang. I thought you were. Okay.
Yes. We are well represented this evening.
I love that. Hey, I'm hoping that you guys use Enterprise Miner in your final project. I love Enterprise Miner.
Yeah, I think it's a really great tool. In terms of cost efficiency and time, it's great to use. I think with our code you can get if some extra power with people are creating very specific functionalities in R and rolling them out more quickly, and that of course is probably going to happen, but I think it really competes well in terms of time savings and ease of use, so on a day-to-day basis.
Excellent. Okay, so who is next tonight?
I'm happy to go.
Oh, I got a couple of volunteers. Andy, how about you? Do you want to go?
Yes, sir, I can go.
Okay, Andy, what's your last name and what team are you on?
Last name is Babos, B-A-B-O-S, and I'm not on the team. I'm one of your 411 students.
Oh, wow, okay. Excellent. I'm glad you're doing this, Andy. So 411, what are you going to talk about, Andy?
Yep, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If someone can give me a holler whenever that pops up, I'd appreciate it.
And you're going for the 2 points bonus for finishing early?
Absolutely.
Okay, you let me know when you're ready then. I don't see anything yet.
Share my screen. There we go.
Okay, let me know when you're ready to rock and roll here. Okay, ready?
Go. Oh, sorry.
Okay, go.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. My name's Andy Babbis. I'm one of Don's students in the 411 General GLM class. So envious of all of the presenters thus far, as close as you are to the end of the program, and congratulations. If I can get someone to laugh, please shoot it over in the chat window so that I know I took John's advice pretty well there, making sure that I'm engaging my audience in some way, shape, or form. But this is my topic, and it's a one-slider, so everyone go ahead and get cozy with this one. I'm in a very fortunate position at work to implement literally exactly the group projects that I was working on in Predict 480. I took that with Mark Clare, and two of the projects there were the transformation plan and the demonstration project. Now, the transformation plan is like your kind of like big picture, holy cow plan for how to make a company more analytical. And the demonstration projects are those little stepping stones to get there. And we base those group projects on my company, actually. And I'm actually like literally getting to implement them. So I'm in a very fortunate position. And I say that to say, like, have faith. All of this stuff does apply at work. So what I'm going to focus on primarily is the top left-hand quadrant, the lessons learned and the takeaways. I've got some admin notes in the bottom right-hand corner about me and my team. Reach out anytime via email or Canvas. But so the lessons learned, guys, and the point I want to emphasize here is absolutely nothing I'm doing here in this PowerPoint or discussing in this PowerPoint has anything to do with analytics, right? It's all I'm keeping the analytics skill set in the back of my mind, but it's really about all of that business unit and team leadership component. So number one on the list, be patient. Tons of things that are common sense to us being students in this program are not common sense to others. And that's not to say they're dumb or that they don't care, but we're talking about human behavior and we're trying to get humans to change the way they think. So some of the things that we consider common sense need to marinate with them. Number two, do the boring work. No one likes writing SOPs or policies or dealing with compliance. But I'm telling you guys, that stuff goes a long, long, long way, right? You got to feed the corporate beast. So the sooner you get comfy doing that, the better off you'll be. Celebrate your small successes. I know we all want to change the world with analytics, but if you get one person to open up a PowerPoint or a Tableau dashboard or something that has refused to do it for 6 months, you've got to celebrate that stuff, guys. Like, you got a high five on the team, bells and whistles. Next one on the list, write everything down. We fancy ourselves smart individuals and we have a good historical context of things, but you've got to be writing things down, right? Like, the more after actions you can do, the more lessons learned you can take away from things, the better off you and your team you'll be. And ultimately look for advocates. And look for them in weird places. I was completely shocked when our vice president of compliance, a lawyer, was more excited about data analytics and policy than some of these other commercial business unit leaders that I'm working with. So he views it as a way of putting structure and mechanics around protecting the company and how we use data. But he's now one of my biggest advocates, right? Like, a lawyer, a guy who avoided math his entire life, is, one of my biggest advocates for this data warehouse initiative that we're doing, right? So look for your advocates in weird places. So moving over to the top right-hand corner, it's the current state. That's what we're doing, right? I don't think anything here is going to be a shocker to anybody. If you've done any time in analytics, like, you've probably done one or all of these things, right? You've noticed that your work and someone else's work overlaps, but I'm going to 3 databases and they're going to 4 databases to build basically the same report. It's a Frankenstein nightmare, right? And then the data warehouses that we do have, they don't talk to each other. Politics, yep, they're there, they matter, right? Like, that's why you want to leverage all those policies and SOPs that I've been talking about. And my 2 cents on that, really, guys, is like, I hate playing politics. Prior to being in the civilian sector, I was in the military for 6 years. And politics had their place there, but in the end, it's all about mission, right? So I came from that mindset of like, what's the mission? What's the objective? To a scenario where, like, I do have to, kiss some babies and shake some hands, right? So my 2 cents is, Just play the game. Don't do it, subversively, I guess. But in the end, just make sure your ducks are in a row that when it's time to not play politics, you're ready to go, right? Like it's simple and straightforward there. Moving to the bottom left-hand corner, guys, this is kind of the summary here of like what we're actually doing now, right? So we've gone from the lessons learned, the big picture stuff, and then what is the current state, and then now this is how we're attacking it. So you got to come at it with the mindset of like you're just there to solve problems, right? Just start creating value. That doesn't, you can go into board meetings and presentations and everyone has a million ideas. That's all great. You got to lead those meetings and you got to start executing with your team ASAP. You got to start generating value, building the brand equity. And if you add that to the boring stuff called policies and SOPs, you're really going to be a juggernaut of a team player there. Build on those little successes through the demo projects. I talked about those from Predict 480. Use those SOPs and policies to form a governance committee, right? People love steering committees. I hate bureaucracy, but you do need a little bit of it in order to put structure in place for you and your team to be successful. So really use those boring bits of paper to put mechanics and WASTA, if you will, behind what you're trying to accomplish. The other good thing about policies and SOPs, it lets you kill a bunch of birds with one stone. So the way I found out that the VP of compliance is one of my biggest advocates is when I gave him these policies and SOPs, he was all about it, right? Like I would have never known that this was on his radar had I not gone through writing a policy and asking a lawyer to review it, right? Like I would have never found that out. Having stuff on paper also ups your political game, if you will. I hate saying it that way, but when someone wants to sharpshoot you in a meeting, we hate that. But if we can point at a policy or an SOP and say, well, here's our plan, what's your plan? Obviously, you wouldn't do it that way, but you get what I'm coming from there. And then lastly, like putting stuff, gotcha, thank you. Okay. Putting stuff down on paper, it helps you concisely articulate an issue, right? If you go into meetings and there's a million ideas floating around, if you're not writing stuff down, back to writing everything down and history matters and all that stuff, if you're not writing stuff down, you're not really even thinking through the problem yourself, let alone convincing others that it's a problem. And then really like what we're doing in the next 30 to 60 to 90 days is we're finding a single project that's going to deliver financial impact to the organization. And that's going to kind of be our tip of the spear effort in terms of getting more resources, money, and people behind this kind of like analytical transformation that we're working on as a company. So all that said, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations to those guys in 498. I wish you guys all the best. Take care.
Whoa, 2 seconds to spare for the 2-point bonus. Very nice. I like the topic that you had here. I like it when people don't just crawl into analytics, but they do other stuff also. So all this can be useful.
Yep. Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Hey, who else wants to go tonight?
Hey, Don, this is Tyler. I can go.
Who was the first guy who said, hey, Don?
This is Anthony. I've been...
Who is it?
This was Anthony.
Anthony. Okay, Anthony. Who are you with, Anthony?
I'm with the HR analytics team.
Okay, HR analytics. What's your last name, Anthony? I probably know it, but...
It's Mavramatis. I can send it in the chat as well.
Forget it. I'll find. There's only one Anthony on HR analytics. I can find it.
I think there is. Yeah, Mavromatis. I just shot it in the.
I'll find it. Okay. So, are you going to go for the 2-point bonus?
I'm going to give it a shot, Don.
Okay. Well, you want to share your screen and then we'll get started.
Yeah. Let me do that. Okay. Share screen. All right. Let me know if you have.
I can see you.
Cool. All right. Let me know, Don, when it starts.
Ready, get set. I'll let you know when 7 minutes. I'll go 7, and then if you hit to the 9, I'll tell you at 9. Okay. Ready, get set, go.
Awesome. Well, good evening, everyone, and excited to share with you some learnings and experience from delivering a personalization engine and why a great algo isn't enough. It's required but not sufficient. So all of you, at least the 498, when you look at our program, there's a lot of great classes that all of you hopefully have taken, certainly the core courses and the electives. If you look at the ones in yellow, a lot of great classes. I know I've enjoyed a lot of them on machine learning, on deep learning, and math and stats and all that great stuff. So no doubt you're thinking, going to go out and join a company and we're going to do a lot about personalization. Maybe you're even reading all the articles online about how awesome companies are at personalizing, how they're getting all these great results. It's honestly hard to find a company out there that isn't using some form of personalization, especially those digital companies, and I've just highlighted a few of those here. What I'm here to tell you today, and a bit of background that might help on that, is my company here is American Express, and I manage their personalization capabilities. So that means anytime you go online, you get an email, you go on mobile, the engines behind what you see are managed by my team. And so we're a small team that manages all those interactions and the decisioning behind which your experience ends up being. So what I wanted to share with you today is why Algo is, again, required but not sufficient, because when you look at it as a whole, what I have on page 4 here is the full picture. And there's about 12 things that I could bucket and into a nice little package. So I wanted to share what it really takes to deliver a production grade personalization capability, where machine learning fits in. And then the last note is more on the softer skills required in my mind to be successful. So starting with what a full personalization stack actually looks like. The first order of business is to make sure that you're clear on what it is that you're solving for. So I'm going to use an example from Facebook. So hopefully all of us are active on Facebook. I'm sure we are. One of the problems that Facebook faces is what is the right balance between sponsored material, sponsored placements, and showing you posts from your friends. So that's an example of an objective function. So they're trying to figure out how much money am I going to make, because they only make money if you click on an ad. But also at the same time, I want to make sure that you keep coming back, you keep spending time, you keep clicking. This is representative of a problem that a lot of companies have. So you have to make a decision. What is it that you want to optimize for? Some companies might say, I just want to make sure that people are clicking. I'm going to assume money comes later. So you want to make sure that all touch points are optimizing for the same thing. And this is more of a strategic question. It's not even an analytics question, although, as you'll see, it requires a lot of analytics to execute. Then you need marketing partners that are willing to put in a lot of products and offers. I've been in many situations where there's like 3 or 5 different options that need to be optimized. And I always tell people, like, you don't need machine learning for that. Just throw it 3-4 different ways, and you'll get equivalent results. The next layer 3 and 4 are about data. So you need data. You need interaction data. You want to make sure that is coming through in a very clean fashion and consistently tagged. This is probably the most ignored layer, but most critical and frankly most painful to get done. 5 and 6 are ensuring eligibility. This is kind of more of the mechanics. So you want to make sure that you're putting the right product in front of the right customers. Maybe they're eligible, maybe they're not eligible. Maybe you want to worry about when somebody is attriting, that's the program. Maybe you have an attrition program. You want to make sure you regain customers. Eligibility for that would happen in number 6, and there's some logic that needs to happen there. Layer 7 is feature engineering. So that's your classic like intent, or even simple things like what time of day is it that that something is happening or not happening. Is your customer traveling? Are they at home? Things like that. Those are differentiated between batch and real time. Real time, obviously, a bit more complex. And then 8 is the layer that optimizes your economics. So if you're going to make an offer for a 10% discount, 20% discount, you want to understand what the economics of that are. And those go into deciding whether you give somebody a 10% discount or 20% discount, depending on what your business is. Number 9 is the AI layer. So I'm not going to dwell too much on that. Hopefully everyone is cool with that. And you're still not done. There's still 3 layers. There's channel specific things you need to worry about. Like if somebody's going to opt out, you're going to have to take that into account. And then the 11 is what is executing across channels. So your optimization function needs to take into account what happened across channels. Did you just see the email and now you're calling? Maybe I don't want to talk to you about it, or do I want to talk to you about a particular product? So again, that's kind of optimizing your objective function. And then, of course, finally, every channel has its own delivery logic. So that's the very high level full stack of personalization. On the next page, I'm going to talk about some of the softer things that at least I took away and I've taken away so far, which are 7. The first one is make sure that you've thought about everything. Even if you're only executing at 10% this year or the next 6 months, make sure you've thought about all the things that you would really need in the long run as you're thinking about your personalization stack.
7 minutes.
Talk about really 2 and 3 are really about talking about things as often as you can. Make friends with technology. Technology is show results quickly. People are going to throw a bit nervous about artificial intelligence. So bring your passion, bring your best game to the table, because that is going to help get people excited and big with what you're doing. And I'll stop there.
Excellent. 30 seconds to. Go ahead.
Cool. No, that's awesome.
Okay, so this was about
I didn't have
Anthony.
anything else.
What does Algo stand for? Oh, I think we lost. You said Algo. Your topic.
Sorry.
What is Algo?
Algorithm. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, fair enough. I didn't realize that. Okay. So who is next on the food chain here?
Hi, Don. This is Tyler Smith.
Tyler, how you doing, Tyler? Tyler Smith, right?
Yep.
Okay. What team are you with, Tyler?
Biker gang as well.
Gosh, how many of you guys got today?
We're only missing 2.
Okay. Well, okay. So let me know when you're ready to get started, and we'll let you go. How many more people do we have tonight? But type your name in the chat window if you're after Tyler. So okay, Tyler. Let me know when you're ready to go.
Okay, go for it.
And everybody,
so guys,
put yourself on mute because I can hear my echo. Okay, ready, get set, go.
Okay, thanks, Don. So this, hopefully you're not all bored to tears, but this is one of those areas where...
I'm not sharing your screen.
Oh, there we are. Sorry, guys. Can you see it now?
Nope.
Now?
Nope.
I think Anthony still has his screen on.
Oh, Anthony, stop sharing your screen there.
Continue sharing. Yeah, I'm on. Let me know if you guys see it.
Okay, I can see it now. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Ready,
so
go.
This is one of those areas where I wish I would have known this a long time ago, but it's really dealing with really large data sets. So the first time I really encountered this was I was looking at EPA water violations for every state. And the only way I could get the information is through the EPA's website. And it was honestly just a CSV download. And you could basically, it was set up to only do 1,000 at a time. So using some of the resources we've gone through so far, I took the database class, which I actually found very useful. But one of the things you're limited to was how much you could download. And I liked, the website. It was fine, but it wasn't enough. And it took, to pull all of this data once, it took, an hour, 2 hours to pull everything. And there, were about 2 million, 3 million violations. So that's, a lot of rows of data. So I was originally downloading them all as a CSV and saving them as multiple CSV files of 100,000, every single chunk. But that was really not efficient. So I built this program in Python to pull everything from the EPA's database that basically replicated their violation database. And so the key was, what do I do with this afterwards? And what I found was there's a free program. You can actually create your own MySQL databases. So doing this allows you to not cap how much data you basically save. So I was able to use this Python program, install. It's important you have the PyMySQL library. But once you have that, you can basically read in. So what I did is I read in all of this violation data, and then at the very end, I could basically check all this data, aggregate the data in Python, and then when it was time and I was ready, I could basically just go in and use the plugin to read it to my local MySQL source to create my really large database. It was really for me just like a really large Excel file. So the next problem I had after this was I needed to access this at work, and my MySQL file was basically on my home computer, but I needed to also be able to access all of this data at work as well. So the next step I took was figuring out how on earth can I move this data from my computer to my work computer, because I couldn't run that Python code at work. It would take too long. So I looked online, and one of the things you can do is you can actually host your own website. So I found one of the cheap ones, Siteground, and I basically said, how can I, do they allow me to host my own servers? Do they allow me to host my own, basically my own databases? And through Siteground, you can actually host your own MySQL servers. So I went through, I created a MySQL server, set it all up through Siteground, and then once it was all set up, it was pretty easy to go back and forth. So the way you move it, once you have your site set up, you follow all of their parameters, and then the FileZilla, which we've used in our class before, you can actually, this is my home computer, so it was relatively easy to just drag over, my database to, let's see, right here. So you just basically drag over your database to your site-grounded hosting site. So I basically had hosted my entire data set, and then once it's hosted, I won't run it now because it takes forever. But using the this one, the RODBC Connect, you can actually basically talk with your site-grounded, web-hosted, much larger server to basically be able to pull this data really from anywhere you want. And that was, for me, just hugely helpful to find a way to basically pull large amounts of data that would normally take a very, very long time to download with just running it in Python or R and crawling it from the web. And if I could host it, it was much easier once it was in a MySQL server to call it from that, my own dedicated web source. And that's really, what I found super useful in this. And then other quick tips that I also have found useful is you can also host native RDS files through GitHub, and you can call those files into R for sharing purposes. So this is for our biking, and the key with these is once you click on, you upload the files, and then you just click on the link, and instead of, you'd normally copy the URL, but it's not exactly the right one, so you just go ahead, you right-click, and you do copy link location, and once you're in the your file, you have to have the R curl installed, which allows you to pull URLs from the internet. And then you just insert that URL, and it's very easy to, pull all of this stuff. And it's much faster than, a lot of the other ways. So you just run it. It really quickly pulls all of that directly from GitHub. It works the same, exact way for your MySQL servers. That's really, just what I wanted to share. I thought it was one of those things that, it's very nice to know that you have that ability. I think I pay for SiteGrounded. I think it's like $10 a month or something. So $10 a month to basically be able to upload whatever I want, share it with whoever I want. Definitely for me, it was worth the cost.
So this whole SiteGround stuff, your whole talk is basically around this SiteGround. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, SiteGround, it was more, dealing with large data sets, because I know for our project, we pulled from the Google, BigQuery stuff, and it takes forever to, pull all of that information just because, Google doesn't want to allocate you speed to download all that stuff. But once you have it downloaded, it works pretty fast. And the way that you can make it better is, through these SiteGrounded and hosting your own MySQL servers.
How hard is it to learn SiteGround?
It's easy. It's very easy. And they also have an excellent chat service where you just give them a quick chat and they'll tell you, hey, this is what you have to do. It's really, honestly, not too bad. This is, the MySQL databases, so you can create really whatever you want. So I had 2 hosted at one point. You can just add in new ones. You can also add in whoever you want as users, so they have their own designated login and password as well. And you can set parameters like, can they write to the database? Can they read? What are their permissions as well?
Very cool. Okay, and if you could send any sort of material from this along, I know that most of this is just on the web, but whatever you can send for other students to use as a resource would be very helpful. So, Bob Klein, I'm guessing you're next, and then followed by Noella.
Sure, love to go.
Okay, Rob, you share your screen? Are you gonna shoot for the 2-point conversion here?
I am.
Okay, let me know when you're sharing. I hope you're going to show me that R code that you handed in.
No, I'm going to do something else. Sorry about that.
I love that.
Can you see my screen?
Okay. Anyways, ready, get set, go.
Okay, so really excited to share with you guys today something I came across in the Capstone project that Anthony and I are working on. It's actually developing custom web and mobile R apps using R with a library called Shiny. So you may be asking, well, what is Shiny? Well, it's a package that makes it really easy to build interactive web apps straight from R. You can host apps on web pages, or even I've seen people, deploy them into the Android store, or even iOS store, or Apple store. You can also embed them in R Markdowns. If you're not familiar with R Markdown, it's a great tool in R. Promotes reproducible analytic results, and it's also interactive. So you can show people the results and have them interact with the graphics. You can also build dashboards with it, and so it really has a significant amount of possibilities. It's really, creativity is in your hands. You can build anything you want with it. Certainly, you can extend Shiny apps with CSS themes, HTML widgets, or JavaScript actions if you're familiar with JavaScript. So how do you do it? Well, you use a copy of our Studio IDE and import in the Shiny library, and you can develop and prototype web and mobile apps right from the IDE. Shiny generates 98% of the HTML in JavaScript, just running basic R commands. And you can deploy the app to a number of different channels, which we'll talk about. One of the neat things about our Shiny is that it's device aware. So if you're accessing the app from a web page, it'll show you on a web page. Or if you're doing it from an Apple phone, similar to what's shown on the screen with the login screen, you'll get something like this. It also has interactive user elements that you're used to within mobile apps. And so you've got drop-down boxes, buttons, icons for help. There's one displayed in the center screen, as well as you can turn and rotate your phone and the screen will adjust. Within the next screen, you'll see that it actually is displaying an iPad. In this case, we're seeing the survey question from the application I'm building for HR analytics, as well as the same question, but based on the user ID, say it's a COE who goes ahead and logs into the app, we'll actually get a dashboard of the respondents of that question. Shiny can read from our supported backends. In this case, I'm reading in from a CSV, but there's no reason you can't do SQL Server or even Mongo DB if you're a lover of Mongo DB. And you can also capture user responses and write that to a backend. In this case, I'm writing it to a CSV. As I mentioned, you can deploy it to a number of channels. Here's a few listed. Certainly, you can leverage what's available from our studio. You can deploy it on-premise. You can even deploy it commercially and have a commercial application that you collect money on. You can deploy it to Amazon, which I did, was fairly simple. I set it up in a day, running it on a T2 micro free environment. So that's plausible. You can go ahead and access it from anywhere in the world. And I also mentioned before, you can go ahead and deploy it to a store. So let me give you a quick demo of it. This is our studio. There's two main parts to the application. There's the UI, which is here, and simply you specify the layout. In this case, it's side layout. You specify the side panel. In this case, it's a select input element. And then the main panel, and I have two outputs, a text and a plot. In the server, we do a lot of the back-end work. We load in the data. In this case, we're loading from the MENTI cars library. Go ahead and create the formula text. We display it here, as well as we output box plot. So very simple. To run it, you simply click the Run App, and there it is. It displays on the screen. Now, what I'm going to do is switch over to Chrome, because Chrome allows you to not only display in HTML, but it also allows you to simulate mobile phones and mobile devices. In this case, there's an Apple device, and you can simply click on that and go through and see a change. Likewise, you can select an iPad, and you can rotate it. So, going back to the presentation, as I mentioned before, there's a significant number of extensions you can do, and here's some available resources to help you learn. If you follow the links, you can get about 12 videos and articles on developing applications with Shiny. You can get examples from the gallery. You can get extensions. from security extensions and authorizations using Auth0 to actual dashboards and using Plotty in D3. So you can see that and sparklines within the extension in the lower left-hand corner of the visual. And then finally, there's a link that I provided to get more on how to deploy apps. So that's my presentation.
Wow. Tell me this, how hard was it did you know Shiny before 498, or did you just start learning it for the class?
I just started learning, and I was up and running in about 3 days.
Holy cow. Anybody in 498, and also you 411 people, let me tell you something. I'm a real sucker for a cell phone app, and I love this. So, you know, I'm telling you, just getting these little cell phone apps up are an amazing little accomplishment. Does this stuff run Python also, or is it just strictly R?
It's R.
Okay. It's really cool.
It is. It's put out by RStudio, so real focus on R.
Wow. Well, hey, I'm glad you did this. And please share the slides and such with me.
Will do.
Anyway, okay. I think, Noella, I think you're my last person tonight.
Yeah, still here.
Still here, okay. We're saving
right,
the best. Well, before you do that, does anybody after Noella, or is she my last person? Okay. Guess what, Noella? You're the last one tonight.
All right. Can everyone see my screen?
I think we can. I'm gonna hit start, and you got 7 minutes, or I'll let you know at 7 minutes, and then if you keep going, I'll let you know at 9. Okay?
All right. I'll try to keep it quick. So
okay. Ready?
Okay. All right. Go. So my name's Noelle Finella. I'm in the capstone class, and I work in the sports industry, specifically in CRM. And I know that there's a sports track within the MSPA program, so I thought it might be interesting for students to see what a lot of sports teams are actually utilizing for their business side of sales, customer tracking, sponsorship tracking. So the company I work for is called Core Software. We work with now over 100 sports teams and various sports-related entities. We have a couple applications, we call them modules, that lay over Microsoft CRM, Salesforce, SAP, pretty much whatever the team or company is using as their CRM system. And then we throw in our modules on top of that. We integrate with their ticketing data, possibly their email databases, and whatever they're using, honestly, that can integrate with CRM. Different teams go crazy with plugins. But anyway, so for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to go through what the ticketing module looks like. This is our test database, so it's not going to be, exactly populated with what a normal team has, but it should give you guys a pretty good idea. So this is pretty much the sales process for a lot of teams when they sit down to sell tickets. You'll have the execs or your big ticket sales managers sit down at the beginning of the season, and they'll be sitting around saying, oh man, these coaches, operation staff are not doing us any favors. What were these trades? The team is not looking good this year, and we need to sell some tickets. So what they do is they come up with different marketing campaigns. And so they come up with different ways to segment the data. So whenever they finally decide where they're going to begin, which is a lot of times polling last year's season ticket holders, they pull in all their ticketing data and they say, that's who we're going to start with. We're going to run a renewal campaign. And what they're going to come in and do is they're going to search within what we call Fan Finder, and they're going to search for contacts. So when they're searching for contacts, they have quite a few different ways they can segment. There's various entities on the, or fields on the contract record they could use. For the sake of this, I'm going to say that they already created some sort of marketing list. So they drag it in here to include. I created a test one. So we're going to do Noel's one contact marketing list. You add, you just hit OK. And then next. Oh, look, there's one. So say next, and you're going to say, I'm going to run a renewal campaign. And what you're going to do is you're going to create activities. You're creating activities for your ticket sales rep. So you're going to say, I need them to call all these people ASAP. We got to sell some tickets. Put in the subject. This is going to be very high priority. And then you're going to specify what type of product. We're going to sell them a full season. And long of the short, you push it out and you hit create, and it sends it out to all of your ticket sales reps. The ticket sales reps now come in the morning, and this is what they see. They see their to-do list, and they're going to see that renewal campaign you sent out for your full season. And they're going to say, wow, I got 85 people to call. I better get cracking. So they're going to open it up, and they're going to say, all right, where do I begin? I'm going to start with Terry. So they're going to click on Terry. So Terry is going to open up. See, well, I already have him open. No. Okay, here we go. So Terry's going to open up, and you're going to see, keep in mind this is all dummy data, but you'll see Terry's address information. You'll see that in 2017-18, he was a full season ticket buyer. You can also see if a team is running their own models to benchmark their customers and who's most likely to renew. See that right here. You could say customer attributes. So this is where a lot of people, or a lot of teams, if they've pulled in data from Axiom or Personix clusters, they came up with their own. They can upload them, and it will display here. Here's their ticketing ID, and you're going to scroll down to activities, and you're going to see, okay, here's the activity I need to work on. I have to call them. So you're going to pull it up here. You're going to get them on the phone. You call them. You say you had a two-way conversation down here below. It went well, so you're going to give 75% rating that you think they're going to purchase. You can say the number of tickets that they're interested in, so 4. And let's see, it's a general lead. And you could hit save as complete. So basically, while it's saving, it's running a little slow. It's been open for a while. But long of the short is once they run these big ticket sales campaigns, then you can actually, we embed in Tableau reporting. We have pretty much standard Tableau reports that most of these teams are utilizing. And you could see the executives then can come back in after the campaign was run and view how sales are going. So we have the full season renewal. There's 995 opportunities or activities that are out right now. And you would actually see this report just start populating. And you could get really granular into pipeline data, how much you're expected to bring in versus how much you really actually sold. And so it's pretty powerful systems that these teams are starting to use. This is just one small aspect. But yeah, this is what a lot of your big sports organizations are using and utilizing for their customer data.
Okay, 7 minutes there.
Oh, I'm done. That's probably the basics. I ran through that really fast.
No, I'm glad you did.
I hope that made sense.
No, it did. I have a quick question for you. Is that okay? So the software application that you just showed us is basically a campaign reporting tool, and basically it's a sales campaign tool.
The piece I showed you, yeah, that fan finder that they're allowed to use or able to use. This will generate their campaign so they can start segmenting the customers. A lot of these databases will have, at minimum 500,000 contacts because they're pulling in all of their ticket sales data. So let's say you went to a Cubs game. They're going to have you in here as a contact. They're going to pull in all of your ticket sales history.
So what would be, just out of curiosity, when I write down the little thing, what would be the one subheading phrase I would use to describe this talk? Would it be like campaign management software or the CRM analytics in sports, or what would we call it?
I would say sports campaign management.
That's the word I was looking for, campaign management. Does your company invent this software, or did they license it from somebody else?
No, they invented it. I mean, it's obviously laying over Microsoft CRM, this particular demo site I'm showing you. So some of it is native CRM tools that Microsoft built, but the area you're viewing right now was our company came up with it and built the whole thing.
Does this software let you do things like A/B testing, like one campaign versus another, or?
You can, because you can compare them all within the Tableau reports. They'll let you compare campaigns, and you can see how well you're doing.
I see. Well, that's really cool. It's kind of neat to see something in action that people are using.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please send anything. Noella, what team are you on?
I'm Team 2, which is the Instacart group.
Okay. Yep, I know it. So, okay, this was really good. Send anything your way that people can use. I don't know if a lot of this stuff, because it's web pages, but whatever you could send would be useful.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, does anybody else want to present tonight? I'm hearing silence. Okay. So whoever wants to send me their slides, I can hand it off to, I'll put it out there for the other students to consume. Also, if you post it to the discussion board for like the information sharing section, again, that would be very helpful. Want to thank everybody for presenting tonight. I'll get you your bonus points soon enough, and really thanks a lot. And any final questions or thoughts? If not, we'll call it a night and we'll see if the Cubs are going to win. Anybody know the score of the game?
Last I checked, Cubs are down 9-1, and it's not good.
Yeah, that's not something you come back from easily, but hope springs eternal, huh? Okay.
Let's hope so.
Still 9-1, Andy said. Okay, well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and touch wood and all that fun stuff. Well, unless of course any of my students are Dodger fans, in which case they can be happy, I suppose. I don't know. I'm more of an Indians fan. Okay, well, gang, it is a nice. Thanks very much, and we'll talk. And I'll post this stuff. Okay, take care.
Thanks, Don. Bye-bye.
Thanks.